All right, we're going to be getting started here in just about 1 minute. Just want to remind anybody who plans on talking, please come up to the podium. Please sign in, indicate which project you're with, introduce yourselves to the board, and we can start up once the bell rings. I think Chris Justin, I believe, told me that last month that he wasn't going to be here.
He texted me just a few minutes ago and said he wasn't going to be able to make it.
Okay, I thought that was the case, so there's our sign.
All right, so call to order the February 22nd, 2024 Town of Somerville Design Review Board meeting. If we could we have a request to move number 4 Somerville Commons to the first item under new business. Everybody okay with that?
I'll make a motion.
All right, is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So the first order of business would be the approval of January 25th, 2023 meeting minutes. Could I have a motion?
Approved. Motion.
A second? Who was the second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You'll let the records note I did not vote. So, yes.
Okay, thank you. Then, first item, I assume there's still no signs. First
Correct.
item under old business is 101 Wood Duck Drive. And this is 99% of this is just for the ice machine. We've already approved the site.
Correct. So to give you that background, property zoned NB neighborhood business. The partial final approval was granted back in December for the site only. Board requested that they come back with screening for the proposed ice machine and porta potties that had been shown on the site. As part of their revisions, the porta potties have been removed from the plan, eliminating the need for screening. The elevations have been updated for the ice machine and the proposed screening on that. The plan does show the location of the proposed 12 by 10 pad that is adjacent to the concrete for the handicap parking space. The proposed machine, ice machine, is 5'9" by 7'10", and that fits within that 12 by 10 pad area and proposed enclosure. The enclosure is a 3-sided structure with slats to screen the machine. The screening structure has a front-facing gable with a 412 slope. Overall height is 13 feet. No colors have been provided, but applicant did indicate at the last meeting that any colors were possible for the roof and screening structure. So at this point, I can turn it over to the applicant and the board.
Hello, Jessica Carter with Carter Ice. So I'm here as the ice machine. So we adjusted the site plan as he mentioned. We did pick some colors and I did bring that. This is a black metal roof. It is a 25 gauge standing seam panel. And then this would be the color of the stain, which is it's called Hako bean. It would be the color of the stain for the panels.
Can you show us Tim, can you go to the elevations of the pavilion? So the black roof and all the wood that's shown is going to be that stain,
Yes.
right? Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Candy, you have any comments?
I think that's what we've been trying to get to is something like that. It's good.
This side, Peter?
I have some comments. So there's a photo of the ice machine with the blue canopy.
Mhm.
So that's intended to be inserted into this enclosure with the blue canopy and everything?
Yes, sir.
Can you go back to the structure elevation, Tim? I don't know if the blue canopy, which would be very prominent if visible, matches your finishes. Is there a way to put an apron above the machine to conceal the blue canopy?
No, sir, because I've got to be able to get in that canopy in case we have to make repairs.
But you can hinge something.
This would just be a screen that drops down off the facade in the front. So if you took the gable end and extended it down 2 feet, that would do it.
I think he's talking about just adding a couple of boards right on the front.
Sure,
Take
So that,
3 boards down.
sure.
okay, so that the entire blue canopy is not visible from this elevation.
Sure.
Okay,
But it will be on the other 3 sides.
No.
that's enclosed.
Oh, no.
And then I also saw on photograph, and I don't know if this was part of the machine, there's a lot of moisture on the sidewalk there. All I would ask is that you broom finish the concrete slab to make it non-slip
Okay,
versus a smooth interior finish.
okay.
Any other comments?
I think it's wunderbar.
There are no other comments. Could we have a motion or requesting final approval?
I motion that we grant final approval for the ice machine.
Second.
Any further discussion? With the comments and some
With
of
our
the
comments.
motion was with comments, conditions. All right, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next then would be Somerville Commons.
All right, so the first item under new business is a request for final approval for proposed modifications of previously approved elevations and reapproval of expired vested rights for Somerville Commons located at the northeast corner of Berlin Myers Parkway and East 9th North Street Extended, property zone GB. Final approval was given for the site in August of 2021. And the architecture received final approval in October of 2021. The project experienced a couple of delays that were outside of their control. This resulted in the town being unable to issue any permits within the required 2-year window, resulting in the loss of the vested rights for the project. All permits are essentially ready to be approved, but staff identified a number of minor modifications to the exterior facades of the proposed buildings. The cumulative effect of the minor modifications requires that the design be reapproved by the DRB. The site and landscaping will also need to be reapproved at this time, including the buffer reductions previously approved by the board. Generally, the changes proposed are minor, resulting from changes to internal layouts of the floor plans. The biggest change is to the clubhouse. It now has 2 cupola and is not quite as tall as the prior approval. The proposed plans to address 2 of the conditions of the October 2021 approval. The proposed plans do address 2 of the conditions from the October 21 approval of the architecture. The remaining outstanding condition requiring the construction of a mock-up wall for color verification can also be applied if the board chooses. The applicant should include a detail of the proposed mock-up wall in revised permit drawings. So I will turn this over to the applicant, let them run through it, and
Hi, thank you. I'm Kelly Dunbar. I'm with Childers Klein Properties out of Charlotte. We are the owners and developers. As Tim said, we had received approval from the board in October of 2021. I think there's a 2-year vesting period. We were unable to obtain our permits mainly due to 9th Street, the construction of 9th Street extension from Berlin G. Myers to Farm Springs Road that frames our site. Without that road, we would not have access into our site, and we're not able to start construction until the completion. The good news is the road that's being built with shared costs with our neighbors and our neighbors sawmill development. The road base is in, and the first lift of asphalt is in currently. So hopefully they'll be able to turn that road over within the next 30 to 60 days. And I'm going to turn it over to Rob Rule, who's our architect, came in from Atlanta.
Hi, I'm Rob Rule with RJTR Design out of Atlanta. I've been working in North and South Carolina for many, many years. And so if you'd like, I can walk you through the development now. And I don't know what you see what's on the screen and what we see up here, right? So if we want to flip through, we can look at the site plan next, I believe.
And are you going to just talk about the changes?
You tell me how you'd like to approach that. Just the
Let's
changes?
start with just the changes.
Okay, start with the changes. Let's cover the most significant one because everything else was very, very minor, as Tim was saying. So the clubhouse was the biggest change. So if we go to the clubhouse drawings, the footprint roughly stayed the same, where you can see it on the plan from the arrival there from 9th Street. When you drive into the front door, the location and sort of positionally where it is, it's the same. We initially, when we came to this body 2 meetings ago, we talked about, what should that clubhouse be and what should the design aesthetic be? Stylistically, I think we were honing in on the style, which we have maintained and was approved last time. But we started thinking about it being sort of more of a maybe a central kind of barn structure, and that's what the original design was. And you can see that was the original design there. What we found when we did that, because of the overall footprint size it needed to be, is the overall roof got really tall, which is not a problem when it's a barn or even a church when it needs height inside. But for the clubhouse, you don't need that. There's no hayloft in there or anything like that. So some thinking that we did, looking at the stylistic influence of some of this from when we surveyed much of the architecture around Somerville and in the sort of the low country area, we found that maybe the barn motif and the barn roof wasn't the best, most appropriate structure. So we lowered that roof, and we took that one giant cupola and made it 2 smaller cupolas, and we had a more human scale. We took this view right here is actually pretty good view, because that elevation didn't change so much, because that's the scale we wanted the whole clubhouse to feel like. And so we applied what you see on the screen here to the entire clubhouse. So you can see the scale's been brought down. We still have all the architectural flavor and the characteristics that we defined as far as the Somerville style, with some of the trusses and the brackets and the boards and batten and the amount of wainscoting with the brick, the window spacings and clear story lighting. We have all the same elements there, but we just brought the scale down, what we thought is a more human scale. And you can see we also have provided a rendering now that shows that building in context with the other buildings. What I would say about that is, before the clubhouse was probably too large, it blocked a lot of views for the residents in the other buildings. Now it has a nice relationship with the other buildings around it.
And the roof material stayed the same?
Stayed the
like
same.
was in
None of the materials changed.
Standing seam and asphalt shingle looked like?
Correct.
Okay. Any comments on this change? Okay. Let's
Okay.
just go through the.
All right. So if you want to look at the carriage house next, maybe that would be the next most significant changes. This is where Tim mentioned that we had some planning decisions that had to be made Some of the plans really didn't work for the market in this original plan. But what you'll see in this is the original submittal, you will notice that this is the facade that faces Berlin Myers Parkway. So that would be a significant facade. It has a combination of elements happening. We've got rafter tails that you can see in the center gable structure. You see a triple sets of windows that are below that. You see flanking balconies to the side of that. You see square windows lining the first floor in different locations. And then you see some the shutters, the awning shutters that stick out on the two sides that are flanked by brackets that support the roof. Okay. When we were looking at the interior, we found that there were some circulation things that really didn't work, and we had to shift some things around. So we literally took every single one of those components and we rearranged them on the facade. They're all still there. The triple windows, the brackets, the rafter tails, the awning shutters, the balconies, the square clear story lightings on the first floor. They're all still there. They're just rearranged. So, you know, now this unit really is really attractive. These units, there's 2 units up above and garages down below, very attractive. They function and they work. All the same architectural styles. If we want to look at any one of the apartment buildings, we can do that. None of these buildings are all the same, but we can. Oh, if you want to look at the other one, yeah, that carriage house is essentially identical. So here, this is trying to see if this is the newest version or if this is the previous. Yeah. So this is the new version, and we met with Tim not too long ago to talk about some things that we had done on the new version that we presented to him that had more changes than it has now. I would say you'd be hard pressed to find many changes in this version than what we did before, Tim. Wouldn't you agree? Because we actually made some modifications based on Tim's suggestions, and now this looks very much like. what it did
Yes,
before.
this is, you still have some of the minor
There's some-
things,
yeah.
the minor details,
Yeah.
but it generally is in better conformance
Right.
with the prior approval.
Yeah.
So, I had a hard time finding a comparable
Yeah.
shot from the prior
Yeah.
approval for comparison. So, we move further down. It's really here where this is the old submittal,
Mhm.
and then we had.
And here's the new. So if you looked at those two, I would say the layperson would be hard pressed to find it. Tim and I know that some of the roof pitches were changed a little bit to get the overall height a little bit lower where it needed to be with the overall zoning. But there's really no appreciable change. The materials are all the same. All the architectural details are still there. Nothing's been eliminated as far as detailing. Brick, cornice details, wainscoting, brackets, gable vents, they're all still there. This is another one where it's pretty much identical to what we had before.
So here is one of the previous.
Yeah, so this is the one that changed probably the most from before. And what you'll notice, I almost hesitate to point it out to you because when you see it, you see it. But if I didn't point it out, you may not notice it, but I'll tell you anyway. Where we had the open breezeways, you see there's two stacks where the dark gray areas are. Those are open breezeways. So you walk in like many traditional suburban garden style apartment buildings where it's an open air environment. The decision was made by ownership to actually upgrade these buildings to have enclosed corridors, which is actually a more upscale product. They actually, it's a higher level of product. So we enclose those. So this is what happened when we did that. So you'll notice those breezeways, those open breezeways are gone. We still have the entryways in the same location they were before, but now we've got the lap siding and board and batten siding that sort of fill in those areas. And so now it's an enclosed condition corridor building, which, like I said, the perception is this is a higher end product on the site. Once again, it's in the whole idea of having, all the buildings are different on the site. So they attract different people and different demographics to want to live here.
I think it all looks better.
I think so too. That's my opinion, but I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Any other changes you, from the architecturally?
Nothing significant. We mentioned all the significant changes, unless Tim, you can think of anything I'm missing.
I think this notch in the roof, that's where the rooftop mechanicals are going on the 4-story building.
That's right.
Not enough room on the ground.
That's right.
So that's it. It's a significant change, but it's an improvement. You know, we don't have to worry then about landscape screening or physical screening with fencing or whatnot. That is a maintenance issue. So it's all up above, but that notch is required for breathability of the units. But so this is the 2021, and then that's the next. Tried to line those up. Building 5, north elevations. The front facing gables were combined into more of a shed in the middle. Pitches were changed a little bit, but overall, as I said in my staff report, minor changes, but cumulatively, it does affect the overall design. And because their vested rights had expired, they had to come back anyways. So all of it is here, but generally speaking, I think it is as good or better than what was previously approved.
Good. Any comments architecturally before we move to site? All right, looks good.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any site issues we need to talk about? Sounded like there were some minor site changes or no?
As far as the site goes, previously, there had been reduction to the required buffers. I believe
think that was the
this,
detention pond. Is it?
this side here, and then on the remote detention pond, there was a reduction so that they could fit the landscaping in there, because it's directly adjacent to the residential there. They have the necessary row. So all of this matches what was previously approved.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions? All right, would someone like to make a motion? I'm assuming they're asking for, final approval.
I make a motion to give them final approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Good job. All right, next is 143 Berkeley Circle.
All right, bear with me while I get back up there.
Hi, good evening. My name is Neil Mazuranic, and we are petitioning to open a Brewster's here in Somerville, a Brewster's ice cream. I don't know if any of you have ever been to a Brewster's. The way we do it is a little bit different in terms of dining room and some of that. And so as we step through the diagrams, I think you'll see kind of what we're talking about. But first, I think there's one issue that Tim wanted to bring up. Did you want to go into your spiel, Tim?
So 143 Berkeley Circle is directly adjacent to the Wasabi restaurant. It's currently under construction. The approval was back in June of 2022. As part of that approval, you can see this outdoor covered seating area that was proposed to be an amenity for an end unit restaurant use that they didn't have a final user for at the time, but it was an amenity that they thought would be appropriate for this area. Permitting came through, building shell was approved for this location, and then the tenant upfit for the Brewsters came in, and they were showing just a small outdoor patio. significant change in my mind from the prior approval. So they're going from this to this, or they're proposing to go from this to this. They are not occupying the full end unit space that was originally intended for the restaurant use. It does result in a large significant change to the nature of this particular end of the building. Because it's a separate building structure, it would be permitted separately from the regular building. That's why it was left off the main application. That being said, at this point, it's here to be approved for potential modification.
Tim, we reviewed the pergola last time this was here though, right?
Yes, it was part of the final approval. That elevation, the building with the varying heights, as well as this end outdoor seating area, as I said, that was part of the sale of the sale, that's not the right word, the presentation of the building. Kind of added a nice aspect to it. It took it from a standard strip retail development to something that had a little more outdoor connection to the environment, so to speak.
I think that was one of the things that got that project over the hump in terms of getting approval. So like, I know what to hear what you say, but my initial reaction is that was going to be a great outdoor space and that's being greatly eliminated, but that's just.
Well, the building steps down, your building steps.
I don't,
Yes, that's the one under construction now.
Hey, Bill, your microphone.
But the building is there and the building's been approved. The building's being built the way we approved it essentially.
Yes,
And you're not here even talking about that. You're just doing away with that outside dining area.
It's specifically the outside dining,
Yeah,
because that is different than what was.
than what was presented, right? Yeah,
But
you
it was never
simplified it.
Permitted,
but you simplified it.
correct.
Okay. Okay.
Why don't y'all walk us through it?
okay, sure. So looking at this diagram in front of you here, so again, the way that we do business with Brewster's is a little bit different. There is no indoor dining area. It's all walk-up windows. So the door that's in the front of the building that would be used for people to go in and out is going to be converted to walk-up windows. And then there's a door that's on the side of the building that would be also converted to walk-up windows. So looking at the diagram that you see in front of you here, on the upper right is the front of the store. So we wouldn't make any changes to the front look and feel of the store beyond just our sign on the front. And there's some color renderings of that as we get into it a little bit. On the upper left, you can see the walk-up windows there presented with a red, and that's got an awning above it as well. And you'll see a color picture of that in just a little bit. And then if you kind of zoom up on the lower left and lower right, you can see what it looks like, zoomed up just a little bit. Okay, we can go to next, please. So these are the products that we would use on our patio. So the patio would be 24 feet wide by 30 feet deep, 30 feet left to right, 24 up and down. These are the products that would go on the patio. So you've got 4 trash cans there, 3 picnic tables with umbrellas for when it's super sunny, which it tends to get a lot down here in South Carolina. We've got benches around the edge of it. And then just to kind of capture the space and pull it all together, it's a black wrought iron railing around the bottom part of the patio on the diagram and up the right side. Any questions on this before we?
How do you get in and out of the building? I see you got 2 doors in the front, but they've got walk-up windows there, pickup windows in.
Right. So all of the entrances will be from the back of the building. So there will be
From the back,
from the back,
Staff
staff only.
Nobody
So
uses it.
no customers will come into. the
no
building.
customers inside.
No, sir.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so for our use, there will be a sidewalk down the right side of the building because as we empty trash and stuff, and, do that kind of stuff. The dumpsters that have been permitted and approved are on the left side of the building, in the back. So we'll walk around, we'll have a sidewalk there to get us around.
But that sidewalk's not shown on this plan, right?
No, that was previously approved.
It's
I
on the
believe.
civil drawings.
Right.
So the fence doesn't go all the way to the building like it's
No,
shown
sir.
here.
No, sir. It's not going to.
So the only shade is from the umbrellas?
From the umbrellas, that's right.
Do you have anything else you'd like to go over?
That's the gist of it. I think the rest of the artifacts in the slides here kind of go into a little bit more detail about tables and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is the majority of it.
All right, thank you. And Tim, do we have purview over the color of the awnings?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why not. I mean, you tell them to do black awnings at original approval.
So the red awning is the standard Brewster's approach. There's an alternate, which is black, if that is more aesthetically appealing or fits more in that we could go to if the red awning is a concern. And if you want to fast forward a little bit, Tim, there's a picture that kind of shows it. Keep going, please. Keep going. Keep going. That's the front. Keep going. And there you go. So that's kind of a zoomed in version of the side when you're standing on the patio looking. So again, the front, we didn't change anything. We're just putting a sign up there. So we'll have a sign on the side and a sign on the front.
Well, the red goes with the brick is red. So that goes with the red brick.
Yes, sir.
It ought to look good.
All right, any comments?
I wasn't involved in the board that approved the original, but it seems like the original with the structure created a community place, a permanent community place, while what you're proposing seems very temporary. It's just movable furniture and you don't have to say you're going to bolt it down and that makes it permanent, but there's no sense of a community gathering place. At least the original looked like you can bring dogs in and they can lay down and you would have bowls of water. There'll be different types of seating experience instead of just within a capture rectangle.
The dog tenant didn't sign up though. The ice cream tenant signed up. So that's-
I've
whole use
seen
changes.
dogs eat ice cream. Actually, dogs enjoy ice cream. So what was your reason for downgrading? Or are you open to creating a community space? And I'm not saying, build the original. I'm sure there is a compromise, a hybrid, something that fits in your budget.
From our perspective, my wife and I, so I'm a retired Army officer. I don't really have a ton of money to go build huge structures and that kind of stuff. So that didn't really appeal to me because there was just no way we could afford that. I think what appealed to us about that space is we like the central location. It is really a central point, I think, in Somerville with so many people there. Could we alter our patio design a bit? I mean, we could potentially make it a little bigger or something. I don't know what else we could do from a budget perspective to go to a roofed structure.
Would you be open to, instead of a metal railing, a masonry wall where that had planters in it?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We could absolutely do some of that.
And maybe upgrade the furniture instead of the round tables, a little more sophisticated. And again, think of the community. I mean, if this is 100% of your patrons are using this space because there's no indoor seating, I think what you have is probably small, and hopefully it was small for your, future customers that you really want to make it grand.
Absolutely. I will say that one of the good things with Brewster's is they really provide a lot of coaching and that kind of stuff as we designed. The patio on this one is one of the bigger ones in their inventory. There are 185 stores across the country. It is one of the bigger ones. Could certainly go a little bigger if you'd like, and do some of that sophistication and some of the aesthetically pleasing items. Certainly we can do that.
Any other comments?
Yeah, the previous approved plan came through several times before it got to the point where it got approved. And I feel like that this proposal is taking too much away from what was originally approved.
I agree. I'm very conscious of budgets, but Somerville is a little short on outdoor gathering spaces, particularly kids and teenagers and parents that are taking their kids. And we need to make sure that places like this are designed to a high level. I've been to a Brewster's before, and the patio furniture is very durable, but it's not very aesthetically pleasing. I would be more in favor of having a patio that has shade, has a better quality of material. Maybe it's got a brick edge, maybe it's got the planters that Peter mentioned. You know, it does not have to be a structure. I would prefer it to be a structure, but it absolutely needs shade brought in. I would not be in favor of this as submitted, because we need to have outdoor gathering spaces that people want to get some ice cream, want to get some coffee, and just be comfortable and stay there for a while, even if it's 90 degrees outside, and you can do that with shade. So I think those improvements have to be made.
What did the original one look like that was approved? What's it look like? Or
One second.
what's the older one look like? The one that was approved previously?
This area from here to here, and
The side,
yeah, the lower portion,
that's the front. How about
that's the front, and
side is what we're
it
talking
was larger.
This is a larger patio.
Yeah, so
Then it had a trellis.
it had a trellis over it, had shade along the edges. It came out all the way down, and then it went back and had greater depth.
So it had a trellis and canvas awnings on the sides of the patio.
Mhm.
So if you eliminated all the patio except for that front where it says BB, left that part of the patio stop there, not there. Just the part that goes the third of it right there. If you made that the patio, that wouldn't be a fortune to put a trellis up like that.
No.
And then you'd have you'd have two awnings to put on it, not four. Cause you'd only be about the size of the two awnings closest to the building. The second awning on I guess the right with the arrow coming off, it would not be there. You would not get that big. You wouldn't get any bigger really than the area you got now.
Okay, so we can go back and we can get you some drawings and architect that, I think. So what I think I hear you saying is, and I've heard a lot of different things, but I think what I'm hearing you saying is the size is okay, 24 by 30. You would prefer some shade with a trellis or something like that. I think a trellis is a great idea.
And the awnings.
And the awnings on the
As
sides.
shown.
Upgrade the furniture and potentially look at some other things to kind of tie it together a little bit better.
And black instead of red.
And black instead of red. Okay.
Yeah. Any other comments? All right, so you're asking for final approval. I think it sounds like it would be denied, right? So is the best way to move this forward is just do that, or should they withdraw?
I think it's up to them. Obviously, in this situation, it doesn't matter. They're going to be coming back. So if you deny it, they're still going to come back. Doesn't prevent them from coming back. If they withdraw, they're still going to have to come back.
Okay,
So,
all right, got it. So we they're asking for final approval. Is there a motion?
I'd give preliminary approval with comments.
You could do that as well.
Huh?
I said you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, is there
Preliminary approval with
with a second?
comments.
Any further discussion? All in favor of preliminary approval with comment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. One opposed. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is a proposed new Tesla supercharger station. Anybody from Tesla here? All right, we'll move that to the end.
Good
I-
afternoon. Sorry, I did
No,
join
that's different
virtually
project. Sorry.
on behalf of Tesla.
You do need to
Amend the agenda.
motion to move it.
Is there a motion to move Tesla to the end?
Second.
Tesla, under new business to the last.
All right, we had a second. Is there all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay. So next would be North Maple Street Parker's Kitchen. I'm gonna recuse for this one. And they're asking for conceptual review. So that, just a reminder, we do not vote on conceptual.
All right. So this again is a request for conceptual review of a proposed new Parker's. Yes, Parker's Kitchen, located at the northwest corner of North Maple Street and Business Park Road. Property is Zone GB General Business, and this is the first meeting. An application for tree removal and tree protection board approval is required. This should occur prior to application for preliminary approval. There are a number of protected trees on the site to take into account, but not many grand trees that must be worked around. The gas canopy is shown in front of the convenience store. If these were swapped, the convenience store and the gas canopy, there would be an opportunity to preserve a couple larger trees that are located closer to Maple Street. The architecture of the building is prototype Parker's building, including whitewashed brick, timber details, and standing seam metal roof. The gas canopy is a basic canopy with hipped gable roof and standing seam finish. I know the applicant is here and I can turn it over to them to present further.
Hey, good evening. I'm Casey Warfield with Kimley Horn. We're the site civil engineer and landscape architect for the proposed Parker here at the corner of North Maple and Business Park Road. Appreciate your consideration and discussion on this particular project. We've got the property owner, Parker's representative, as well as the architect here as well to help discuss and answer questions and talk through this. Generally, as Tim discussed, it's Parker's convenience store. It's a prime corner and location for them. And just a couple of things on the site I want to point out before kind of turning it over to the architect and others that's still kind of in flux and being worked through is the site access points on Business Park Road. We're in coordination with Berkeley County as well as town engineering staff to finalize those locations and coordinating with the property owner across the street to make sure we align drives and for proper alignment in that regard. So that's still a little bit in flux, but generally providing access both on Business Park Road and North Maple Street. The North Maple will be limited to a right-in, right-out access there. And with that, canopy is along the North Maple frontage. We've got parking, some in the front of the building, but primarily on either side in the rear. Gas deliveries there to planned left that will loop into the internal access and shared access drive with the adjacent out parcels and overall, whatever gets developed next door, with that. And from there, I'll turn it over to the architect and they can provide maybe a brief overview of the building itself.
Can I ask a couple of site questions first?
Absolutely.
As far as detention, what is the plan?
Stormwater detention right now, we're looking at underground for this particular site. We're also coordinating with the adjacent properties and making sure we've got a cohesive plan for outfalls. And it really gets into timing on, Parker's is one of the first retail facilities in this corridor. So trying to meet their needs and not be held up potentially by adjacent properties. So
Are you guys looking to subdivide this parcel and Parker's would be on the front and a future development on the rear or the north?
yeah, I believe that's the case, but I'll turn it over to Parker's to confirm that.
Yes, that's the case.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Are you guys going to provide detention for the whole entire site as it exists or just what you're going to develop?
Because of it being underground, we're going to focus on just the Parkers for that underground. If there's opportunities and efficiencies to make it better than it needs to be because of that, we absolutely will. But the idea would be that we would just handle Parkers.
Okay. And the only other site comment I would have is the right in, right out on Business Park Road. You've got a full access to the north. To me, I don't see the need for that one.
Yeah, so the main reasoning for the full access is trying to obtain that left turn into the site, and the proximity of the right in, right out in the development of the left turn lane on Business Park Road to turn, I guess it'll be east or towards the interstate on North Maple. There's conflicting lefts there. And so that's creating the need for the northern full access drive in this configuration. And the reasoning for the right in, right out closer in is for the truck turn movement for the fueling. They would enter in on North Maple, the right in, right out, unload, do their refueling in the underground tanks, and then make basically a loop back in the access drive to the rear before they hit Business Park Road, and then back out to North Maple section.
But if the right in, right out on Business Park Road was eliminated, you could just adjust the radius and they could make the full movement access.
Yeah, that's fair. And as I mentioned, we're still, these access points were preliminary. We're in negotiations and coordination with the parcel directly across the street to make sure we align drives and meet, not only the Parker's needs, but the town standards and Berkeley counties, because it is unincorporated Berkeley across the way. So juggling a lot of balls on that. So, but yeah, we'll take that into consideration. Thank you. It is. Yeah, it is. It's the road that basically, you're exactly right, connects North Maple here to Jedburgh, next interchange up.
The mill house is across there, is that?
Yes, sir. All right.
Good evening. My name is Zach Myers with HFA Architecture and Engineering. So we're handling the building architecture for Parker's. This particular building will be a whitewashed brick facade. Along the front, we've got large 10-foot by 10-foot storefront windows, along with a storefront tower at the entrance with standing seam metal roof. Along the sides and rear, it's got sections of inset herringbone pattern brick, all of which is whitewashed. The entire facade is the same whitewashed color. There's also a trash enclosure on the site that is the same brick color, whitewashed to match, with solid metal gates on the front of it, painted to match the heavy timber woodwork that's on the building. We've also got the fuel canopy out front, The columns on the fuel canopy also have a brick veneer that ties into the building, the same whitewash brick. And it's got the hip style roof on that fuel canopy. You can see on the corners of the buildings, we've also got trellises that will have vines growing on them.
Is this a prototypical Parkers or is anything special you incorporated for this site? I guess I have go back to the site question. Maple Street is an important street for Somerville. And we spent a lot of time with the residential units down the way of what it's going to appear like and setbacks and with the public going down Maple Street in mind of what they're going to perceive, what the experience of driving down Maple Street in the future is going to be. To put the pumps on Maple Street, have you considered flipping it so that the pumps are not so prominent? Because I think Parker's is a destination. You don't need to, in my opinion, you don't need to put the pumps at your front door. And I know there's a front and back to the architecture. And I think we solved that with the sawmill project, where it was the same situation where along Berlin Myers is the back of the Parkers. But I think your architects did a wonderful job listening to us, working with us to make that rear elevation acceptable to what we think the citizens of Somerville would like to see on a regular basis.
And go back to a nice red brick, get rid of the whitewash. Yeah, personally.
Now, what you mentioned there is totally understand, coming from North Maple being a prime gateway into the town. And so one of the things from a screening standpoint is we've introduced a landscape screen wall along that frontage. It is going to be a lower wall, in for aesthetics, we're going to have, landscaping along that required buffer along that frontage as well. So it's, while the pumps are in the front, it's not, with the enhanced canopy and with the landscape screen wall, which is atypical, for most people. We're trying to find a balance out of both of those things.
I just noticed this West Hill sign. Is there a master developer on this? And is there a master plan that we know what's happening on the adjacent parcels? Is it residential? Is it commercial? What's happening around the Parker site? So that we can, again, make a informed decision as to the orientation, whether or not a landscape buffer is good enough.
Yeah.
It's on I-26.
Say it again.
It's on I-26.
I know, but I'm talking about Maple Street.
Maple Street
Maple.
intersects with I-26 there. And it's very unlikely you're gonna have any residential property unless
Well, I
it's
don't know that.
multifamily.
No, fair question. And, it is planned for a commercial retail corridor. That's not to say that, and Tom Massey is here as the property owner. He may be able to provide more context for plans kind of beyond this particular corner parcel, but, it's definitely not going to be single family residential, on that. Could it be multifamily down the road? It's hard for me to say, it's a month condition. I'm not sure. More background.
That would be a nice mixed-use development all along either side of North Maple, but you gave away Somerville. And the buffers and landscape and like here, that might fairly the landscape. Next door to that could be a medical office building, it could be whatever is demand for, we're working in the white side on the master plan.
Has the master plan been submitted to the city?
Yeah, one thing that's different about this one than the one at Sawmill is that it had actual design constraints on it, whereas this property does not.
I know, I just want to make sure that this is basically undeveloped now. So it's the opportunity to make the right decisions now versus, you know, being forced into this becoming a North Main Street of Somerville, you know, with overgrown commercial.
Not what we want. We're requiring heavy landscaping buffers and a low wall that blocks the view of the parking lot. So Parker don't want this to be the nicest parking store in town.
I think it looks good the way you got it. With the wall and the landscaping you've done, you've already taken care of the visual issues. I think you've done a pretty good job with it.
But even from this aerial, the Parker's building, which again has a lot of potential. I don't know about the prototype. To be architecturally significant, it seems set back very far that you're not going to get the impact of that building. You're going to see the gas pumps, the canopy, everything is blocking. Where I think you're putting your money is the front facade of the Parker's building. Again, this is just conceptual. So hopefully you can take everyone's opinion and, you know, regurgitate something.
Can you show the front elevation you've done again that you just showed before?
That's the back.
No, the one with the landscaping and that shows the view from the street view. That one. That one right there. That's what you see from the corner. As you come off the interstate, that's what you see. And to me, the canopy looks good, blending with the towers and elements of the building and the landscaping. So you could turn it all around backwards, but it ain't gonna look any better than this.
I just want to mention, we did send some updated renderings and did render the wall on the plan as well. We had originally talked about possibly a sign. This one's the west, but that's not something. That's the, so what we like, Tim, I'm not sure.
I got them. I could not get them into the packet. So yes, they did send it over. There are some slightly updated elevations that have a Parker's sign in lieu of the West Hill sign, but I mean, not majorly significant departure from what you're looking at here.
Yeah, the presentation would be the same, but just wanted to express that using the wall to eliminate some of the site things, the asphalt, which is a critical aspect of development. Where people will be seeing that facade from primarily people who are using the site at the canopy shopping. So to have that facing canopy facing.
You'd have to have a screen wall anyway.
Yes, yes.
That's just one of the normal requirements.
Sorry. It can be the red, it can be.
I was just gonna remind you to sign in.
Is everybody else with me on this red brick thing? No.
Yes.
You like whitewash brick? I don't care. You don't care? Big.
Is there, as the master developer, are you going to harmonize your developments, your subleases? Is there any thought about that? Or is it every man for himself? Every man for himself? So whatever.
No, because you're gonna buy, standards, design guidelines and, commercial design, and so no one can be there unless they fit into the land plan and the overall.
Have you developed that master criteria yet?
Yes, we have a master design guidelines as well as commercial design name. We can do a separate presentation on that and another.
I think if we can, when you come in for the preliminary, if we can get a sense that it harmonizes, it coordinates with the master developer and his criteria, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, like when, OREI was here last month, with their project, I wanted to make sure they were connected with the grant stuff. And then that's where, for example, having the sidewalk to connect it in car development. The car development is about 175 acres, and it's all gonna be one unified. A good sidewalk, and that gives you access to. We wanna, again, make it the new gateway to some of the, it's gonna all be north.
Thank you.
Sign that you see that says Westville, I would envision that actually would say down Somerville in some way. We like to coordinate with the town on that. I think that would be important if we come off the interstate. You realize you're in the new Somerville.
I agree with everything you said.
I think the sign's lovely. I would not want, again, it would need to say, I don't know, whatever you decide, the town of Somerville, but I think that's lovely at that intersection. And then you can have plants and flowers and it be, not look so much like a.
Well, the screen wall will tie into that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And again, I just want to emphasize, I think the Parker's elevation is a very nice building structure, low country. I think they did a lot of things correct. And to me, it's hidden. I don't know if there's some details you can, if we decide to have the pumps along Maple, if there's some details you can do more to the canopy. Any other comments? Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is item number 5. This is I'm looking at the wrong staff report. Where is it? This is for a request for conceptual review for a Dutch Brothers Coffee drive-through building. Property zone GB general business. It is located at the northeast corner of Berlin G. Myers and Merrimead Drive. Property is currently vacant and this is their first meeting. I'm gonna scroll through, get to that layout for everybody. So this is close to the Somerville Commons development, just a little bit further up. This is the site that has the sign for the Lowe's and the other stuff in the shopping center around the corner. And it has the large easement and overhead power lines going through it. The proposed project abides by the setback and height requirements in the GB zoning district per section 2.7 of the UDO. There is a 5-foot landscape buffer that is required. Proposed parking of 13 spaces exceeds the minimum parking requirement of 3 spaces. Side and rear setback will require landscape screening per section 8.5.2D. No screening shown on submitted site plan. Applicant has not yet provided a full landscape plan, lighting plan, or signage plan. So here's the site plan. I will go ahead and turn it on over to the applicant. Elevations are pretty consistent. It is a masonry building. Does have brick and multiple brick finishes. EIFS, which or a metal trim. I'm sorry. I actually didn't review this one fully myself. I handed it off to somebody else. He did a good job on the site. But there is no EIFS. I apologize. But it does have a wood material as well as this looks like a composite wood material. So
Is this the prototype that you use everywhere?
It is, it's not, it's for the building. A couple things that I think we're mentioning is there is no indoor seating at all. There is no outdoor furniture, just walk up for the customer. Primarily a drive-through operation, but we do have some parking. We do encourage walk up. That's why that canopy is there. A little bit of history on Dust Bros, if I might just sidebar that a bit. They were founded in 1993 in Grants Pass, Oregon, and have since grown to over 800 units across the United States. We're fortunate to be working with Dust Bros to help them expand to the Southeast and have 5 states that we're working in right now currently. We've been here in Somerville several times with other projects. Excited about this here. Architecturally, this is a very significant departure actually from the prototype in terms of material selections and in some of the way this building is put together. And we're happy to do that. We understand we need to adhere to the requirements and some of the criteria of some of the jurisdictions. Felt like our architect did a really good job. He apologized he couldn't be here tonight from St. Louis. Also the material selection, working with some local folks and other architects locally on how to adapt some of the thematic aesthetics of the architecture to the house.
How is stormwater addressed on the site?
Pardon?
How is the stormwater addressed on the site?
It would be a subsurface. If you, I don't think you see it. You see it in the site, and you can, Jessica could probably speak to this better than I can, but where you see the dumpster, we had to get all that out of the piece instead. That's the area.
there was an update that again wasn't able to get into the packet. They do have underground detention shown in this vicinity here.
If we approach it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. This is big gas line going in energy. We've got, there are actually 3 gas lines. Oh, really? I'm sorry. One short.
No, you're fine.
The stormwater will be handled in the subsurface chambers immediately to the fan west of the dumpster. those are bad.
No special protection areas here, it's really just pretty straightforward, outfalls in that bottom right corner of the site. Consistent and, the dimension footprint is small as. No, but again, it's a unique site with a unique tenant here. Make the best of it.
Center of the donut.
That's primarily gas line easement, so nothing is happening there really.
Grass.
It's just basically gonna be open space and lawn. Maintain.
Well, you can't plant trees under the power lines
That's exactly, well, not only are the power lines. but the
and
gas
on
lines.
top of the gas lines. So
Yeah.
you got grass and cleared area basically.
Essentially how it is today.
Yeah.
Might add too, there are obviously significant limitations on our earthwork. We're working with gas companies to understand what our part of the home criteria would be.
Well, the site's about level. Site's about level, the dirt's pretty good.
Yes, sir.
I read in the accompanying narrative that there were some low country considerations that were incorporated into the architecture. Can you tell me what those were?
Selection base rate, head of stove, roof, back. Standard plan, very consistent. That was in the packet, some fire. Also the rough home, under the canopy, there'll be some of the timbers, rough home. Wood tree.
Where's this vintage wood? Is that on the rear elevation?
Basically, that would be on the backside, if you see the signs, the attached signs, that would be the darker, grayish colors.
And what is that material?
It's not.
Are there any
Similar.
sidewalk requirements?
Yes, if we could go back to the site plan. Thank you. Well, if you look at your the current site plan. Yeah, you'll speak to that. Yeah. Talking to Mark.
Okay, we can share. We're still working with, Bonnie Miley, at Town Somerville Engineering to discuss, what and where, sidewalks should be provided. But all four corners of, that intersection currently do not have any pedestrian access whatsoever. So we're trying to determine the best way, what to put there that's gonna be safe and tie in with any future development on that intersection.
So can you walk up and get coffee or you have to drive through?
No, you can walk up and there are parking spaces for both employees. Again, on your other site plan, we push the parking to these side of the property. So we have employee and user parking, but we encourage pedestrian access as well. And this is a relatively busy intersection, we all know. A lot of vehicle traffic, we will encourage pedestrian access.
Yeah.
And another good thing is just the way it laid out, and we like to encourage this too. We look at it, the canopy is on the street side. So that's a little activity center with walk up and so forth, which is very easily accessible from the intersection. Access.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I would echo that and encourage the interconnectivity with sidewalks. There's a significant workforce there. There's actually a lot of people that walk down Berlin Myers, believe it or not. But can we go back to the elevations and you describe the outdoor dining or outdoor patio a little bit? So that's it
That's it.
on those yellow columns right there. Got it. That's
So
on the
you
street.
will drive up, park and walk to a window.
That's
Basically.
one option, but primarily it's drive through.
Right. But if you wanted to park and get out your car, you'd walk up to a window, is that what you're saying?
And again, there's no seating, don't encourage people hanging around, and The canopy has just been part of the prototype, and it's part of the culture of the company, and, you know, Texas and Arizona and other parts, and even here, you know, protects customers from the elements as well.
But you need all that parking so that because you are gonna have some people parking.
Right.
We could have a few.
So it's drive-through only, basically.
90% drive-through.
I wouldn't, yeah. Sure. what you're saying.
You don't really want people to hang out on the
Right.
patio and drink your coffee.
Right.
The site plan that was, submitted with the package is different than this one. Which layout are you guys?
The new one that you have, and that one came after we had further conversation with the gas companies in terms of some of the parking criteria. You see the dumpster has changed a bit, and they've encouraged us to push all the parking out of the easement area based on the potential elevation of those gas lines. You know, we want to stay within that as much as possible. They're going to require us to do that.
Well, I think it's great that something is finally coming here. You've been very clever on how you can kind of fit it all in, so I applaud you on that. Interconnectivity is huge, like we talked about. I think I have a little bit of concern with stacking that the cars would have coming off of, say, coming from Lowe's. Because I think that could very easily spill into Angus Street. Never knew the name of that street, but it could spill into that. There's already stacking issue right there anyway. So it's going to be, that's going to be tough. I'm concerned about that. And I would like to see, I know this is conceptual, but I'm going to go ahead and tell it now, engage that space in the middle somehow. Maybe you can't put trees in the easement, but there's, if that were at least a space that was pleasant to look at. I mean, you can call it a park if you want. I don't think people are going to go there and hang out, but it ought to be something nice to look at, not just lawn. And then architecturally, if we could go to some of those color elevations, Tim, I appreciate the nod to the local materials. I think the scaling of the building looks off to me because there's kind of this, a little bit of a tower element, which, you know, there's not really a need for a tower here for one, visually. So I think it makes it look super vertical. Maybe the building needs to be a little simplified a little bit.
Well, sitting down in a hole too.
Yeah, but it can still be, it can, yeah, but it's pretty far away.
4 foot down.
But, you know, and
I will back to say the tower itself is going back to the Dutch tradition, and that's probably the most architecturally important aspect of the building itself. And it is only 950 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's really just scale wise. We could provide some renderings and some other things to get you comfortable with how that tower element works.
Yeah.
The tower is only 3 feet taller than the building.
Yeah.
it's very narrow but tall. Maybe that tower needs to go all the way across instead of being a separate element. But I mean, looking at the rear elevation, there's, you know, 3 or 4 different masses going on. So it's really busy for me. And the canopy, the patio area on the lower right under the front elevation, it seems like the roof is heavy. The columns are wide. Proportionally, that doesn't look right. So while the materials are kind of tracking right, I don't think the scaling or massing it doesn't look low country, right? So I think for me, it's a little bit of a restudy on the scaling and massing of the building and some of the particular, like the canopy on under the patio. It's not, I'm not an architect, but it just doesn't quite look right. I think the yellow brick, I think I would be more in favor of more brown brick and less yellow or no yellow at all.
Yes, it's more, the brick is that Edisto, it's more of a shell. It just doesn't.
It's more like a whitewash brick.
Yes,
See,
I
Edisto,
think the picture just
white
doesn't.
brick.
The picture doesn't do it justice.
Right.
It's just the renderings, it's not
Yeah.
really yellow. And
Yeah.
it was just bad.
What does our architect think about Chris's comments?
I think you mentioned Dutch architecture.
Yes, sir.
I don't see that. in the tower. I think duct architecture goes with more severely sloped roof lines. And looking at the front elevation or the left elevation or whatever elevation, I don't know if these different materials are in different planes. I'd say if they're in the same plane, that's a big mistake, because then it just looks fake. So I think if you can, if you're gonna make it a tower, it needs to be offset a little bit, it needs to be in its own plane. And I think that's easy to do. I'm not talking about feet, it could be, inches. But I don't see any Dutch architecture in this.
Probably, and probably wouldn't want to.
By our Dutch tenants is what they. It is.
I think they said
Except for the windmill.
the windows were Dutch or something. I'm like,
It's Pennsylvania Dutch, not Holland.
maybe.
This is Oregon.
Okay, this is low country Dutch. So again, if you're gonna have that as part of your narrative, part of your brand, and you're really gonna buy into the name, I think you should have some, homage to some type of Dutch architecture. It could be a detail.
Totally understand, but again, this is the prototype and.
Right.
And to shift the heritage of the prototype into a different vein of Dutch for Somerville versus everywhere else in the country might.
Well-
And I hear you loud and clear.
But just so,
It'll
just,
help, it'll help tremendously if you get the brick colors right on the rendering, on the elevation.
but so
We'll bring samples. into the sample.
one of the purposes of the design review board is to make sure we do not get prototypical architecture that's
Right.
been built 800 times. We want it to look like it is a low country coastal South Carolina building.
We want to make Somerville special. So we want all the new commercial development to recognize that and be proud of it also. This is gonna be your first unit in South Carolina. I think it should be special so that it can translate to everywhere in South Carolina and not just Massachusetts.
Looks like the South Carolina edition. Not the Oregon and Arizona and, edition. What you're doing with the materials with scale and massing is not right.
And I don't know if the Dutch Brothers sign that we're seeing is the logo, but it immediately reminds me of Dutch boy painting with the 3 color stripes.
Yes.
That's what I get confused, Could be a paint store. So just be
That's what I
cognizant of
thought. It looks like a paint store. And unfortunately, I think that's because in the South, we're used to Dutch boy paints.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere else they're not. So when I saw that, was my immediate thought.
So signage will be an issue if you're gonna have a monument sign or something, we'll wanna see that. Photometric,
right.
photometrics, lighting.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. It's part of the process.
You got your dumpsters covered.
And you need to show all the mechanical equipment. Because like Bill said, this does sit in a hole. So if it's on the roof and not screened, that's not gonna be acceptable. It's gotta be screened.
I can't read it, but how tall is the building? It looks like 26, 28 feet.
Building's 25 feet, towers.
I can't read those. Oh, there you go. 24 foot to the parapet. Okay.
And I will mention too, that we do have a restriction on our height, as part of our.
Well, you're gonna be tall enough and you can hide everything with 24 feet
Oh, sure, yeah.
or 20 feet, 10 and a half.
It needs to be a minimum of 20.
Yeah, they're 24 feet tall.
Yep.
20 foot, 10 and a half to their main line of building.
Just saying, it can't go below
The
that.
roof is gonna be about 14 to 15 feet up. The ceiling will be about probably a 10-foot ceiling. So your
But
roof
the
is.
aggregate goes all the way to the top, and I mean, it's just. it's
You
really
need
just
to drop the roof down so and put scuppers in
Bill.
it so that you can hide the equipment.
Bill, it says 12 foot, 10 and a half inches to parapet. So is that their top of roof?
Top of parapet.
of this parapet, of the tail.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's,
Okay,
That's in the north.
So 20 foot, 10.5 to the main body.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think for me, the building does not look low country, including the windows.
See the scupper on that back elevation, you just made it disappear. There's a scupper hole coming out. That's where the roof is. So that's not high enough to hide the equipment. So just work that out.
And the two just blank windows, how do those?
Those are actually, signage for special
Okay.
features and so forth.
Okay,
They're not really windows.
No, they're not.
so sign.
Now, I will tell you, and I've been in a lot of these across the country, there's a lot going on in that 150 square feet, so it's just in terms of the building itself, it is down to the art forms to how they function and operate. It's pretty amazing. How they. And one other thing, I know this is probably not really relevant to this cause and architecture elements of the building, but Dust Bros is very, very community oriented. They get to a community. They really, really participate. They're a big part of some of the community. Contribute a lot. So there'll be more following that, I'm sure.
But is it good coffee?
Pardon?
Is it good coffee?
It's fantastic. It's like, you know, they're not. You asked, I'll start. It's not Starbucks.
Okay,
They
I
do
will take
a lot of things that are just really oriented to more of a celebratory. It's not a place where you're going to go sit down and read all day. They keep things moving. They've got they hire a lot of young folks that are very engaging.
And who do you think they cater to? What group would this cater to? What do you think?
It's just all over. I mean, from high school kids to retirees. They've got a tremendous variety of drinks, a lot of energy drink things that the kids like. Workforce. That's why they pop
Quick.
through this
Okay.
very quickly. Retirees,
So not necessarily gourmet coffee,
no,
but
not necessarily.
quick coffee.
Is there, a
More than coffee. I encourage you to go look at the website and you get a little flavor.
Pun intended.
is there a freestanding menu board in the drive aisle?
In the drive aisles there. Yeah.
Can you show us that?
We can go, if we go back to the
Is it-
site plan, got that. Yeah.
Okay.
In the Center, well, yeah, in the center aisle, the drive-through, there are two menu boards there. And the way they function, is that they have, it's very similar to Chick-fil-A, throughput, is that they have what they call roistas. But they will, that's why you have all that in the back of the rear elevation, because those doors, you've got people coming in and out, they're bringing the drinks to the people in line, and that's why they have the access drive, so that you can get food, so you can order online like that, you can go to your menu board and order in the car, or they will come out and take your order, and your order will be ready. They have, I think it's like a 50-second criteria that from the time that drink is ordered, it needs to be on its way to the customer. Right? So, and that helps a lot. We've dealt with that across the country too, in terms of throughput on the traffic situation. Is that it's so fast that it just very rare that it fill out, except maybe every day, fill out the takes the drive, takes the street. Really quite amazing.
All right. Any other comments?
Conceptual, right?
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you for your time.
Take care.
You want to do the Tesla thing?
We have somebody here on a Zoom, Jaden Beachy. Are you here for the Tesla? If you want to unmute yourself and
Jason's not here.
can you hear
Yes.
me?
Can you all hear me?
Yes, he noted Tesla rep.
Yes.
We
can
can't
you-
hear you, so if you're talking, give me a second, see if I can get this to work.
That's the same reason I wouldn't. Too damn complicated. It's 32 degrees is bad.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you all hear me?
We cannot hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
I don't know how,
Tim, how about if we roll with it and we can discuss it, and if he has anything that he would like to add, we just do it that way.
Jaden, did you hear that? You okay rolling with it? We can read your messages via the chat. Awesome. All right, so give me 1 second. Get back to.
Does anyone have concerns with this project? Would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Since this is remote, is there anything, Jaden, that you would like to add? Sounds like we're about to vote for approval.
Robert, fill in for Jaden. Jaden.
All right,
Says they're
so I'll
good.
call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Jaden.
Who
Thank you.
provided the second on
Cracker
that?
Barrel gets.
Made the motion. Who made a second?
I'll second.
All right, perfect.
We have a motion to adjourn. Candy made a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Good luck.
Thank you, Jaden.
Pretty good. Did pretty good. All right. My ball was.